10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
How are we all doing? I'm shaking my head for some reason. Must still be. I don't know why I'm doing that. How are you all doing? Sam here, United People's TV. We're live. It's Friday. I got that sweet Friday feeling back because of Erik Ten Hag yesterday. Thank you very, very much indeed. We are going to run through some more details on it. It was a wicked day yesterday. You know, after the humiliation against Liverpool, we needed that, didn't we? And now we can sort of start to look forward, start to really look ahead. Because we all hoped it would be Erik Ten Hag a few weeks ago. I think it was on March the 21st when he had that first interview with United, and we were like, could still be Poch, could still be Poch. The pessimistic United fan inside us was still convinced that it wouldn't happen, but it has happened. Erik Ten Hag is our manager, and now we can start really having conversations about the future at United. Yesterday was all about the excitement. Yesterday was all about the announcement, the buzz. It was great. But now we can start looking ahead. So I'm going to run through in today's video. There's always loads to talk about every morning, but genuinely there is lots to talk about. I'm going to run through a very detailed article from The Athletic on the sort of the Ten Hag's deal, on how the conversations went between United and Ten Hag, how Poch sort of got sidelined, how Ten Hag came to the forefront, what his demands are. We're going to look at the latest articles from The Telegraph on his coaching staff, on Steve McLaren, on René Meulenstein, on Robin van Persie, on Mitchell van der Gag. We're going to be looking at having a conversation about his transfers, about the budget that he's got. We're going to be taking a look at some reaction that happened yesterday. Comments from Wayne Rooney on Erik Ten Hag. Eric Bailly, he wants to play. The kids that trained in the first team. Oh, man, there's loads to talk about here. We've obviously got Arsenal tomorrow at 12:30. I won't be doing a preview predicted 11 because the season's game set and we're done. The players fucking showed that with that performance against Liverpool. Arsenal showed that it's definitely on with a 4-2 win over Chelsea. I will talk about the team, but I won't go into too much depth. Adrian, hello. Nice to see you down there, joining as a member. Let me know where you're watching from, Adrian. Like Andrew's watching from, one to you, take off, click the wrong comment there. One to you, Andrew, watching the whole way from Victoria, Australia. And you know what it is, ladies and gents, today. It's Friday, which means, of course, it's map day. So throughout the stream, you let me know where you're watching from. And when I head to the map, make sure you let me know where you're watching from, both the town and the country, and I can get you added onto the map. One thing I would want to say before we quickly do start this video, something I'm very happy about to finally launch that I've been working on for a long, long time. The podcast. The podcast is hopefully going to be starting on Tuesday. Everything's planned, everything's booked in, everything's sorted. So hopefully it all works. And if this button works, poof. For goodness sake. I don't know why I keep throwing in that random words. Anyway, I'll fix these comments. But look, if you could, there's a link I've just left in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. Please follow the United People's podcast. All right. A lot of work's gone into it. You can follow it on Spotify. You can follow it on Apple. The two main ways. We're going to be getting onto Amazon at some point soon too, and Google when they let us in. But please go and follow the podcast. So if you do listen to podcasts, if you don't, that's fine. It's your choice. But if you do, the link's there. Please go and follow it on Spotify or Apple. And if you can, just give it a 5-star rating or leave a review, because that's the way that we will tell these podcast networks that the podcast is going to be good and you're going to be excited for it. So I'm looking very, very much looking forward to starting that on Tuesday, as long as everything goes correctly. I have no idea why the spelling mistakes are coming from that button. They're not on there. It's just adding them in. Because I'm becoming my own hypocrite there, because I keep having to go at people that do spelling mistakes, and I've just done 2 in a row. Ice Cold Murray, how you doing there, buddy? Saying, can we talk about the potential youngsters coming in? If you've already seen the video, I've done a detailed separate video on the 5 youngsters I think that will probably most likely come through under Erik Ten Hag. I spoke about Charlie McNeil. I spoke about Alejandro Garnacho. I spoke about Alvaro Fernandez. I spoke about Hannibal Medbury. And I spoke about Jimmy Garner, right? I spoke about that. So I will talk about them again in the future, but just check out the channel. There's a video specifically on those things. But look, let's go into the main thing today. Inside the deal that brought Erik Ten Hag to Manchester United. Juicy Jeff watching from Nigeria, Joe watching from Singapore, and Michael watching from Sweden. How you doing? And Gully watching from South Sudan. Hey, lots of you watching, lots of you joining. Make sure you drop a like on the video, but let's get into this one. Let's talk about it, man. Because for a long time, we all sat there and went, Ten Hag. I know Ten Hag seems like the smart decision. It would be the best decision, but it's not. Is it going to happen? And it did happen. It's absolutely happened. And it all started from that first conversation that happened on the 21st of March. And that's what you can see there. So this is an article from Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein, and Adam Craft, and all the Athletics United journalists, and maybe Andy Mitten got involved as well, I'm not sure. But this is what they say there. Football director John Murtough, technical director Darren Fletcher, and Richard Arnold flew to Amsterdam on the 21st of March, and all three of them left that meeting extremely pressed at how Ten Hag proposed to improve United, gaining first-hand insight into a manager with meticulous planning and a focused approach. He did not sugarcoat the thoughts. And that's... I remember saying this at the time and reporting as it went through. As soon as that conversation happened between United and Ten Hag, the stories came out about how impressed Manchester United were with Ten Hag, with how he spoke, with his charisma, with his approach, with his personality, and also with his communication skills, which for some people was considered that might be a concern that English wasn't his first language. It's definitely not the case. But I always remember the excitement and how impressed United were with Ten Hag and how that really came out heavily in the press. But nothing was really said about Pochettino. I don't know whether that was just a narrative that was going on, whether that's because that's what the press wanted to happen, so they reported on it a bit stronger. But I found that a little bit weird. Not weird, but maybe the fact that Pochettino didn't carry as much charisma in the interview than Erik Ten Hag did. Mouts, you're probably not wrong here. Fletcher and Murtough took a little bit of a detour. There you go. If anybody's been to Amsterdam, look, you've got to visit the red light district. It's part of the Amsterdam culture. Be rude not to. Maybe don't go in them, but you can visit. So let's read through this article together. It said Ten Hag was very much at the forefront of United's minds as early as January, having emerged top of the club's data analysis of all candidates when factoring in underlying metrics and transfer spend. Now, that's a good thing. And I actually think that's quite an important part of all of this, because that's why so many that's why all of us, let's be honest, not all of us, 80% of us were so pro Ten Hag. Because we took maybe emotion. That's a lie. Emotion was involved in that. But looking specifically at the data, it swung towards Ten Hag. So, and that's something that United have to do with signings. United have to take emotion out of signings and have to really look at numbers. I'm not saying that we should be adopting a pure Moneyball focus, but data can sometimes lie, depending on whether you're looking at all the data. But it's very much an important part of modern football when it comes to signings, when it comes to players, and now when it comes to managers too. So I think that helped Ten Hag, and I think it's good to hear United doing things in the right way, which again has been part of this whole process, right? We might have been pissed off that it was taking a while, but it was a genuine process. We were doing it right. Instead of just hiring a manager on the back of a recommendation or just getting somebody in without interviewing anybody else. We didn't do that with this situation, and we still came to the right conclusion. The best conclusion I think we've made in terms of a managerial appointment, because we all thought it was going to be Poch at some point, didn't we? Ten Hag has assessed the current squad and discussed future signings with United to a detailed degree already. But his attentions for the rest of the season will be on attempting to clinch a third Eredivisie title with Ajax, and he will not be part of recruitment meetings at his new club. Now, that's not a red flag in any way, shape or form. That's just the correct way to go about things. Ten Hag can't be manager of Ajax, trying to steer them to an Eredivisie title and be talking about the defensive midfielder that Manchester United needs to sign. I imagine he's very much made it clear what positions he thinks United needs signings in, and we all know what those are. And as I said, we're going to run through articles from the Telegraph and the Times after this in terms of transfers. And spoiler, I'm going to have a video out probably just before lunchtime on the transfers, on if Erik Ten Hag gets a 150, 200 million budget, what are his dream signings? I'm going to run through that. It's an exciting video that I think we've all been waiting to do. I've been waiting to do it, but I told you, didn't really want to do it until we could say that Ten Hag was already done. Now that Ten Hag's done, we can start focusing on the transfers. We can start focusing on how he'll play at Manchester United. There's lots more videos coming to United People's TV in the coming weeks. Coming week, definitely. Weeks, once, all of it. So make sure you subscribe if you're new. Let's go back and read a bit more of the article. It said Ten Hag insisted on telling Ajax players before the official announcement. I'll be honest, I was told about the announcement. The information came through. I was told about the announcement, I think about 20 to 11, and it came true. But I'm not really... I hate the idea of being in the know. It's something I've completely avoided all the time. But the information was right, and ultimately the excitement exploded yesterday. We went live at 9:30 as we always do, and then I was back here at 11:10, and you saw the smile on my face. One thing I want to say separately to all of that, I know that the colours on this camera so far, they're not as vibrant as they are in my shorter videos. It's because I'm able to add a filter onto the shorter videos. Later on today, when I get a bit of time, I'm going to try and tweak the settings on this so that the vibrancy comes to the colours on the live streams. So don't worry about that. I'm still working on it. It's all in hand. The Athletic understands it. I found this part quite interesting because I think this is quite an important thing to understand. The Athletic understands that United have negotiated Ten Hag's release clause. Sorry, have negotiated Ten Hag's release from Ajax outside of his release clause because that only became active between May the 16th and June the 15th. So it seems like Manchester United maybe we paid a little bit more. Maybe we just paid what that release clause was. But that only came into action on May the 16th after Ajax's final game. So United, if we were just going on the release clause only, we would have had to wait another month to finalise the deal with Erik Ten Hag. It's good that Manchester United have avoided that. That's called smart decision making, right? It's probably it might be Van der Sar allowing the conversation to go through. I imagine it's United paying a little tiny bit more, maybe not an incredible amount more, but maybe a little bit more. But it's a good thing that we've done that for sure. Otherwise, we'd have had to wait for another month. Talks are now in place to assemble Ten Hag's coaching staff, with negotiations at an advanced stage for Mitchell van der Gag, his assistant at Ajax. Steve McLaren is also under serious consideration. Ten Hag has proposed McLaren to United, and proper discussions are set to take place. Now, I've spoken in the past. I was quite dismissive initially. I think, let's be honest, a lot of United fans initially dismissive of the idea of Steve McLaren. I think you kind of like go, oh no, it's just going to be a Mike Phelan part 2. But when you take a step back and you go, right, let's look at it. Mike Phelan was brought in by Solskjaer basically as a bit of a mentor. He wasn't brought in because of an experience they've had together. He was brought in to sort of help and guide him through United. Steve McLaren he was Ten Hag's boss. He was manager of SC20 when Ten Hag was the assistant there. Their relationship has been built away from Manchester United, and that's where they started working together. So it's not as if McLaren coming back to the club would just be a Phelan part 2, in my opinion. I think their relationship has been, as I said, been built elsewhere, and it's the added bonus that Steve McLaren was assistant at Manchester United during our best year, and he knows what it is at the club. He's not glamorous at all. He's quite the opposite. I still remember when he put on his Dutch accent when he was manager of FC20. Oh my God, it was like Alan Partridge becoming a coach. If you haven't seen that, just type into YouTube McLaren speaking Dutch. Absolutely hilarious. Always will be. But maybe it's going to be McLaren because it's not going to be Robin van Persie, which goes down here, and I'll explain that in a little bit more detail. But there's another name down here that we definitely need to have a conversation about. Now, conversations can freely happen. It's described as a live situation. United feel there is benefit to Ten Hag seeing what is already in place in Carrington. Now, that might throw some alarm bells up. Although Ralph Rangnick's coaches Chris Armas and Ewan Sharp are expected to leave once the summer comes. So the Athletic, they're saying that Manchester United are sort of having a conversation with Erik Ten Hag saying, look, okay, we know who you want to bring in, right? You bring in Mitchell van der Gag, Steve McLaren. The Telegraph did a strange thing yesterday. I think it was Sam Wallace. Maybe about an hour after Ten Hag was announced, published an exclusive saying that Manchester United was sort of pushing back on the idea of Steve McLaren as being the assistant manager. Kind of ties into a little bit of what the Athletic's saying here, is that in the fact that Manchester United want Ten Hag to look at the staff that's already there, but I don't particularly think he needs to. I don't particularly think there's much there that needs to be saved, that needs to come across into the Ten Hag era. So I think it will be Steve McLaren, and I think it will be Mitchell van der Gag. It strikes me as that Robin van Persie's been ruled out because of the work permit issues, right? which we kind of felt that might be the case because of Brexit. Thank you very much, everybody who voted Brexit. But now it's not as easy to get a work permit, and he hasn't been an elite level coach long enough to get that work permit, and he's not going to get the exemption. So it seems like Van Persie's ruled out. Jaap Stam is still going to be part of that conversation. They don't have the experience of working together. That's why I think the relationship with Steve McLaren is going to be quite important. Billy, down here in the comments, I know you're not the only one who thinks this. Bring René Meulenstein back. René, at this moment in time, isn't being particularly linked with the position. As smart an appointment as lots of us think it would be, the René stuff hasn't really gone that far. It's certainly gone further with Steve McLaren. But an interesting name that gets thrown around at this point in the article is this. Look at that. One stellar name has come up in discussions, The Athletic has learned. Wayne Rooney was informally proposed as a possibility for the coaching staff, but he made it clear that he would only leave Derby for a number one position, having turned down the Everton job after Rafael Benitez was dismissed when asked to interview. So Wayne Rooney did come up in conversations, right? I think we all kind of, not all of us, okay, it's going to be quite split. I don't personally think that Wayne Rooney should be coming anywhere near Manchester United at the moment. I think what he has done with Derby this season, he's really shown that he can be a manager. I didn't think that Rooney was going to be one of those players who could, not all great players are great managers. That cliche, it's completely true. And I just didn't think that Rooney would step into management and be that sort of person. But if you followed Derby this season from their point deduction before the season started to their transfer embargo, it was a 12-point deduction. I think they had 21 point maybe overall. I think they got 2-point deductions. So many things went against them, but they genuinely had a chance at surviving. And then obviously it fell short at the end. But when you look at Derby this season, it's not a surprise. And he saw his conversation that he had outside the Derby training ground when a few fans collected there. It was quite inspirational. Derby, he's going to stay at Derby and try and bring them back up to the Championship. Rooney's going to go through management in a different sort of way. And if he can do that and then come to Manchester United, having gained all that experience, he'll come far better rounded for the position. I think coming in as a first-team coach under Ten Hag, it's far better that Rooney stays as number one at Derby and does that than just comes in and becomes a coach at United at this time anyway. Maybe in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, we'll talk about Rooney. But now I think the Rooney was a bit too early. And you disagree? You think he could cut his teeth as part of a good team? He could. He's going to learn a lot more being a manager down in League One, in my opinion, and bringing Derby back up than just being a coach and watching Ten Hag. I think the hands-on experience is going to be far more significant and far more important for Rooney than just being a coach. And that's what he's chosen. Right choice, I think, as well. Robin Van Persie has also been mentioned, but the former United striker was ruled out on the basis of being unable to get a work permit. So that's him out. That's Van Persie out of the running. Van Persie, fine odds, under 16s coach. I'm not sure whether he's got any badges. Obviously, he remembers what United would like recently as well, having won it in 2013. But it seems Mitchell van der Gaag is basically done, right? Mitchell van der Gaag is done. It's who that second assistant is. And Steve McLaren right now is the runaway front runner. If it's not going to be Steve McLaren, I'm very much unsure who it will be. Jaap Stam is definitely in that conversation. Ruud van Nistelrooy, of course, isn't. He's now going to be PSV's manager next year. Ron Van Persie's ruled out. Wayne Rooney's ruled out. René Meulenstein. There's not really been too many conversations about René Meulenstein. But let's see how that one develops. There's not going to be too much of a rush on that. I think the Van der Gaag stuff will be wrapped up quite quickly. I imagine that will probably be announced within the next week. But as for his second assistant, I think we could be waiting a couple of weeks on that. So there's no definitive answer on that one. But it's also I'm going to read a few of your comments out now because I've been speaking for quite a while. And then I'll head down and read the second part of the article. And what I will say quickly, I'm not going to spam it. I'm kind of going to spam it. Anybody, please go and follow the podcast. Let me see if it works this time. There we go. Why does it work that time? Oh, no, it doesn't. Why does it keep not just I'm going to keep spamming it because I'm proud of it. I'm really excited to launch the podcast. The link's in the description. I just left a link in the comments there. Go over there, subscribe on Spotify or Apple, or make sure you drop a 5-star review as well. It really does. It really will help the podcast grow. When is the signings video out? Phoenix is going to be out before lunchtime, so within the next 2 hours. Don't say I don't treat you well occasionally. Let's read a bit more of this out. Actually, no, let me read a few of your comments out. Sam, your favourite subject, Maguire. Do you think he is scripted and delusional after his comments about his contribution on the pitch? I mean, you've all seen my videos on Maguire. One thing I will say about Maguire, I was going to mention it later on. It's absolutely fucking madness what happened yesterday. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with having an honest and factual opinion. I know, not factual opinion, but just an honest opinion based on the course of the season, what's going on with Maguire. I don't think it's unfair of me to do those videos. I'm just calling for Manchester United now to sell him, to move him on, to switch on. I'm not going to put a fucking bomb outside his house, though, or call a bomb threat in. Talk about taking it too far, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Football is football. And some people just have to take it way too far. Way too far. Ridiculous. So I hope that doesn't happen again. Yeah, it's insane. Just have a conversation. You can have a conversation about it. That's why I always feel be a bit fearful about doing those videos, because I know I'm coming from the right place. I know I'm coming from a good place, but I don't want to empower people to do shit like that. It's weird. People are weird, man. People really are weird. Look, let's carry on reading through this article. As I said, look at it. Ankit's there. Look, it's saying 1,500 watching, only 177 likes. I don't know why you're all so stingy. Stingy is the wrong word. No, it's not the right word. Go on, drop a like on the video. It's free. Why not? We've got Erik Ten Hag as a manager. What's not to like about it? Apart from me. That's fine. You don't like me. But look, let's go down and read a bit more of this article. And the bits I highlighted, because it's quite a detailed article. One early reservation for summer Old Trafford about Ten Hag centred on his ability to take on a club of the scale of United. Van der Beek thrived at Ajax, only to struggle in the Premier League. United sources believe the scrutiny at United was a psychological factor for him. I don't personally... I know this was... let's be honest. This probably still remains the biggest... the biggest concern that people have about Ten Hag. You know, he's done it at Ajax. He's been the big fish in a small pond. But can he be the small fish in a big pond? That's the transition. But you never know that until they come to the Premier League. I'm not ruling him out, right? I'm not ruling him out for that. I think it's lazy journalism to just say that. Of course, it will be a step up for him and there'll be adaptation, X, Y, Z. That's why the idea of someone like Steve McClaren can probably help him navigate those early stages. I don't think Steve McClaren would be the best to be there in a long-term basis, but maybe for the first year to really help Ten Hag, I think McClaren would be a good person to lean on. He won't have anyone else to really lean on, will he? Apart from John Murto. There'll be certain people he can lean on, but Steve McClaren, I completely understand it. I'm not that scared about the idea that he's going to come to United and go, oh my God, my arse is falling out. I can't do it anymore. I'm actually a bad manager. I just can't really see that. I can't really see that. You mean big fish in a big pond? There you go. I like that. Big fish in a big pond. Let's see. I'm not personally that worried about it. You can let me know what you think about that in the comments, but you're not going to get Premier League experience until you come to the Premier League. You're not going to get experience of managing a big club until you manage a big club. You can see all the foundations that have come beforehand and you go, right, okay, this person is probably quite likely to succeed. And for me, that's where I lay Ten Hag. And why I'm not too worried about that idea that he doesn't have the experience. Now, there's lots and lots down here on Pochettino, but I'll be completely honest. I don't give a shit. I don't care about Poch. This is the only thing I wanted to mention from that part on Poch, and it's this. Sources say there were conversations, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, which is important to understand here. I'm not saying this is a fact. Somewhat tongue-in-cheek, that if Pochettino was who the players wanted, then United should choose a different option. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of it. You like the idea. We all like the idea of it because, as it says there, staff expressed the conviction that player power had been an issue since Fergie's retirement. And that is a fact, as Benitez would say. Player power has become a dominant virus at Manchester United. That's the virus. Everyone's talking about Pogba and Mourinho and who's the virus. The virus is player power and the overall concept of it. It's infected United like a plague. And that idea that Pochettino, oh, he's good. Oh, the players want him. Nah, never mind. Bring him down a couple of notches. I know it's tongue-in-cheek. I know it probably didn't happen, but I like the idea of it. And I'll be honest, there would, from Luke Shaw to Maguire, there probably would have been quite a few inside that squad that genuinely would have preferred Pochettino. Luke Shaw, of course, being the obvious candidate. But I'm just glad it's not Poch. No offense to Poch. I stand by. I still think he's a good manager. I think he'll go on to do good things elsewhere. Will he go on to do great things elsewhere? I'm unsure. Will Ten Hag? I am sure he will go on to do great things. Whether that's at United or not, I don't quite know. I hope so. Of course, we hope so. But I found that part on Poch a little bit funny. Let's go down here and read what else is being said inside. As I said, what is a very, very detailed article. Suffice to say that Ten Hag made an excellent impression. One of the reported criticisms from his talks with Spurs last summer over his English language abilities, but it's understood that they loved his style of play, blah, blah, blah. Nearly 12 months on, there was little pause for United, who found him charismatic and his communication excellent. The meeting went so well that the first signs of their intentions could be detected. And this was an interesting part here. A bloke called Mike Ford sounds like a regen on Football Manager. The former Chelsea director, who is now an executive chairman of Sportsology, a company specializing in helping organizations realize their full potential. United need that. He's used as a consultant by the Glazer family and was also involved in recruiting Rangnick. So, unlucky Spurs, I would say, first of all. Spurs could have had Ten Hag last year. He was there. Remember who did they go through? They ended up obviously with Nuno Espirito Santo, but wasn't there like Conte? I think Conte was there last summer as well. It's like 4, 5, 6 managers, and they ended up with Nuno Espirito, and Ten Hag was one of the first names on that list, and they obviously didn't get him. That's a shame, Spurs. Thank you very much. You can have Conte. I'll take Erik Ten Hag. I never remember how many United fans wanted Conte in. Jeez. I'll ask that actually. Is there anybody in the comments now that wanted Conte in after Solskjaer was sacked? If that was the case, would you still stand by your decision to have Conte as manager if it meant United had lost out on Ten Hag? We've got Ten Hag in now, but would you be happy with that? If Conte had come in November and was still our manager and would be our manager next season? Do you genuinely think that would have put United on a better path than we are now? Of course, it would have been a better end to this season, no doubt. In the short term, no doubt that Manchester United would have been better between November and now. But would United from this summer onwards be better with Conte? Or I'm interested to know. Let me go down here. Wazzy, you're saying, I certainly would have taken Conte. Yes, he's one of the best managers. I stand by Conte. Never wanted him. No, yes, no, not a fucking chance. All right. Suffice to say, it's a bit split down here in the comments. I can assure you, Sam, there you go. I can assure you, Sam, that Ten Hag is not very charismatic, not very good with words, and hardly ever angry in public. So he may look like a bit of a pushover, but the man is very ruthless. Don't let that fool you. Well, kind of a contradiction there. You can't say he's very charismatic. You can't say he's not very charismatic and then say he's very ruthless. That is a huge part of charisma. Your personality, whether you can be ruthless or not. And I tell you, Ten Hag has never really struck me as a Conte shouter. No, not that sort. But charisma comes in different forms, in different ways. There's the obvious outward charisma that you Jurgen Klopp's and Pep Guardiola. Just because someone's a little bit more reserved doesn't mean they don't carry charisma. Charisma can come in very different forms. And as has been said here, right there, who found him charismatic and his communication excellent. So, Nick, it seems like John Murtough, Darren Fletcher, and Richard Arnold all disagree with you. He was found charismatic. There'll always be splits. I can see Peter in the comments there saying there's always be splits in our fan base. Of course, there'll always be splits in the fan base. That's what football is. Football's like politics in that sense, in that you'll never keep 100% of fans happy. It's like if you're a politician, you're pissing off 50% of the people most of the time. If you're in football, you can never really truly have 100% support. There'll always be people going, that's the wrong decision. But that's why you got to have conviction with your decisions. That's why you got to stay true to what you're doing. Because if you're proven right, you're proven right. If you die, you fall on your own sword. That's what happens. Conte would have given us top 4. Ishrak says here, look, he would have given us top 4, right? But I think from now onwards, Conte would have taken us further downwards, whereas Ten Hag will take us further upwards. And you're saying Ten Hag is not overtly charismatic. He has a quiet charisma. In the same way that some people might say that Ralph Rangnick is not that charismatic, I would completely disagree with you because I see charisma coming from different angles. And exactly what you're saying there and is what I was trying to explain. Charisma can be that outward, open personality. It can be somewhat introvert as well. There's different types of charisma, and there's no doubt in my mind that Ten Hag has that. Kia, what are you saying, sir? All good, but he's not here until the end of the season. Till then, right off the season. Forget fourth place. We've already forgotten fourth place. We're not getting that. Bench the leavers, play the kids. Keep Ant Mart. Who's Ant Mart? Anthony Martial? Nah, no thank you. I don't want to keep Anthony Martial. I know not everyone's going to agree with me on that one, but I'm done with these conversations about what ifs and has-beens at United. Wipe that slate clean, baby. Martial out, 20, 30 million. Thanks for the memories. Let's move on. Bring someone else in. Bring someone through from the academy. Fine by me. Conte would have slapped Maguire. Conte would have 3D Maguire through the table from the top turnbuckle. That's what he would have done. No doubt. Let's go on to read a bit more start here. Bit more info from this article. The direction of travel appeared clear. Murto and Fletcher leading towards Ten Hag. Arnold then stepped up the involvement and assurances were given that Ten Hag was United's number one candidate. I thought that bit was quite interesting. Remember that poll on Twitter? 82% of 219,000 wanted Ten Hag. It was noted at Old Trafford, not a factor in the decision, but it goes to show that the club can sit, even if it doesn't directly influence the decision, stuff like that can influence thought processes and narratives. So thank you very much, Gary, for doing that. Appreciate that Twitter poll, even if it's not the answer you wanted, because I know Gary wanted Poch. Nevertheless, United were aware that a meeting with Leipzig could see Ten Hag shake hands on a deal from which he could not renege. Renege? Never know how to say that word. I personally think that the Leipzig situation was I thought it was all a bit paper guff, if you know what I mean. I think it was Ten Hag's camp trying to exert a bit of pressure and force United's hand, which is exactly what it did. So I'd say thank you very much to Erik Ten Hag's camp, for sure. Anything else inside this article before we move on? I told you it was detailed. Ten Hag is believed to have been keen on building a backroom team comprising specialist coaches for different disciplines, as well as varying ages and levels of experience, but with quality the priority. And only then did he speak to so he has spoken to the Glazers. Joel and Avram Glazer held a lengthy discussion with him. Both parties are thought to have been impressed with each other. No. Don't be falling into that trap, Ten Hag, all right? Do not be falling into that trap. There's something that we posted on Instagram the other day, and this is the sort of vibe. This is the sort of vibe I want Erik Ten Hag to have with the Glazers, right? Let me pull this bad boy up. It's one of my favorite edits that the designer has made. This is the vibe I want. I want Erik Ten Hag to go full Heisenberg on these Glazers. Full Heisenberg. Get that hat on. I want him to rock up at his first press conference with the hat on, with the glasses, with the goatee. Get rid of that. Get rid of those sideburns, man. Get that straight goatee going. Mitchell van der Gag, you can dress up like Jesse Pinkman if you want. You don't have to, but it will help. It would help with the look. But look, I am the one who knocks. Breaking Bad. If anybody hasn't watched Breaking Bad, where have you been? I want him to go full Heisenberg, man. Start off as this lovely, look, he's a nice charismatic teacher. And at the end of it, he's a full-on drug lord kingpin. Spoiler alert. But look, in all seriousness, I don't really want him to have a happy relationship with the Glazers, let's be honest. Neither do you. Oh, wrong one. There we go. But yeah, I found that he wants specialist coaches. Kind of sounds a little bit like Mourinho, doesn't it? We don't know who that's going to be. Mitchell van der Gag is clearly going to be who he brings in, but I think there would be one or two more. That's what my spidey senses are saying. And I think it's going to be probably Steve McLaren. If we're looking at ages, that means you've got 52-year-old Ten Hag, 50-year-old Mitchell van der Gag, and I don't know how old Steve McLaren is, but he ain't young. Don't know what that means for the likes of Eric Ramsey, who remains at the club. Chris Armas, he'll be leaving for sure. I said this at the time, man. When Ralph said there's absolutely no way that the first person on Ralph Rangnick's list was Chris Armas. That's who he could bring at the time. Same with Ewan Sharp. Neither of them would have been top of his list, his wish list anyway. Both of them were brought in because they were available at the time. So both of them are going to be leaving Manchester United. They were compromises. I want no compromises for Ten Hag's coaching staff. Look, man, if he wants Steve McLaren, he gets Steve McLaren. Simple as that, right? Even if we don't want him, it's his choice. The manager gets who he wants. That's what I want. Ten Hag will fully get to grips with United in June, working with Murto, Fletcher, and head of recruitment Steve Brown over signings. Head of recruitment Steve Brown, well, that could be changed. I'm still crossing my fingers. I'm still doing a bit of that. 2 out of the 3 pieces there, they've been confirmed, and they're done. Erik Ten Hag is there. Ralf Rangnick is there. Can we get Paul Mitchell in to make it the hat trick? Hey, look, I would have completely ruled out this idea. Like when I did this video, I think it was like 4 weeks ago, roughly. I was genuinely dreaming. I was like, Ralf Rangnick in a consultancy role with Erik Ten Hag as our manager and Paul Mitchell as head of recruitment. Wow. It makes so much sense. But 2 of the 3 of them are in. Let's see if we can go and get the third. Nick, with probably the comment of the year down here, John Glazer is Gus Fring. Compare in the comments, compare Breaking Bad characters to, I don't know, United players or United members of staff. And if there's any funny ones, I'll read them out. Oh, wow. Rohan, you're saying Ralf Rangnick is Gus Fring. That's unfair. That is unfair. Jeez. But look, that's sort of the inside story into how Ten Hag became Manchester United manager. Found it quite interesting. It seems like that first conversation that he had with Arnold, Murto and Fletcher in Amsterdam on the 21st of March, that was the clincher. That was the thing that changed it all. And I tell you what, I remember saying this at the time. I said, United need to get this done within a month of having that initial conversation. And it was exactly a month later, on the 21st of April, that we announced the deal for Ten Hag. So 1 month from the first interview, the Ten Hag deal was done. And if you step back, that really is a fair process. That really is. And in fact, that's pretty well done. It's painful. And I've said this before as well, because with Manchester United, everything is under a microscope on a daily basis, 4 times a day. And when you get all that information, that constant news, you get sort of sucked into the story a little bit more. You feel like it's going on for longer than it is, because there's like there's too many things going on. But that's why it felt a bit painful. But 1 month, I think, is pretty good. Let's go down here and let me see who we got down here. Ronaldo's Jesse Pinkman. Not sure about that one. I like this one. Ralph is Saul. If anybody hasn't watched Better Call Saul yet, what have you been doing? Anybody who's watched Breaking Bad was incredible, but it got better as it went on. Probably like the 3rd season onwards, it just kept getting better and better. Better Call Saul, from the 1st season, is just sublime. Absolutely sublime. And I love him. I didn't think that he could nail it. Didn't think he could do that character on his own. Ragnick is Mike Ehrmantraut. Just imagining Ragnick with a sniper there. There's no way that Ragnick's Mike Ehrmantraut. He's way too nice for that. If Jaap Stam came in, Jaap Stam would be Mike Ehrmantraut. That's for sure. Ant, you're saying, how can McLaren possibly be a subordinate to Ten Hag when Ten Hag used to be a subordinate to him? It's a recipe for disaster. That comes down to their relationship, I suppose. And Ten Hag wouldn't ask that if he didn't think that Steve would. I imagine that he's already had conversations with Steve. Otherwise, he wouldn't have proposed him to Manchester United. Josh saying, have you seen El Camino, Sam? I have seen El Camino. I'll be completely honest. I was disappointed with El Camino, and I won't say why. For anybody, I won't put any spoilers in here, no, right? If you haven't watched Breaking Bad, like my man down here, Gungshi, leave now. Mute the chat. Don't get any spoilers. Just go and watch it. The character development in Breaking Bad is some of the best character development you will ever see in a TV series. It really is sensational. And it doesn't take long. When you start watching Breaking Bad, you're like, how can I possibly take Malcolm's dad seriously? It's Malcolm's dad. And you get stuck in there for a little bit, but then you get out of there quite quick. Go watch it. Sensational TV. Hopefully, like United will be sensational next season with new signings. Right. As I said, that was a scoop on the deal. Let's talk about transfers. I know this is a big talking point for everybody. So many of you are excited to talk about this, so I will talk about it now. Before I quickly do, though, I want to say a big shout out to BetVictor for supporting United People's TV. And this week, Ten Hag, naturally, was the big talking point. And Makola was asked, he's the United representative as part of the Last Man Standing show. He was asked about Ten Hag and what success would look like. So I want to quickly run through what he has to say before we speak about it.
This question has many answers, and a lot of people will put pressure on him from the jump. But I think he could be a success and not win the league. I think Paul alluded to it earlier when he said,
"That's that Tottenham energy."
Pep
I like
and
that.
Klopp about. But Pep and Klopp being about.
Boys energy.
Pep and Klopp being about. It's difficult to win the league at the moment. Come in and win the league in your first season, second season. So I actually think next season and the season after might be about progression, so how much better we're getting.
The expectation might not actually be
this,
there.
That and the other.
In the first instance.
We still want to. I think we still want to compete for the cups. You still want to compete in Europe. Yeah. And you can possibly do that by bringing in a coach like that.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a big step. And I also think if Ten Hag gets his way, which is what we're hoping, then we're also going to see that probably the average age of the squad drop down quite a lot as well, which then means you have to wait a little bit longer for those guys to get better. We'll still.
So I personally really, I agree with a lot of what Adam has to say, actually. I think he's a decent United pundit, if you want to call it that. I think he's got decent opinions. And I think next season, the success is just not going to be measured in whether or not we win the league. It's impossible to, it's unreasonable to expect. You saw how far away from Liverpool we were. It was light years. It wasn't like a closely fought 2-1 loss. It was a 9-0 on fucking aggregate. And City did the same thing to us. It's mad to think that success next year is even... we won't compete for the title next year. And I don't think at any point, but it's all about the progression that we see. That's what I'm saying. You've got to take your specs off for the one season and really focus on that long term. And if we do that as a club, I think Ten Hag will get the patience he needs from the fans. And I'm looking forward to it. Josh, you're saying Ronaldo is Tuchel. He's found out you just can't trust the ones that you love. I like this. Although you're saying Bruno's Tuchel. Tuchel's crazy, man. Tuchel's crazy. That's why that was actually one of my favorite scenes back at the start when I won't say it, won't spoil it for anybody. But look, if you follow the description, there's a link in the description. Go over there and leave it. I've left a comment there on that video. So please, would you drop a like on that comment as well? And if you look, drop a like on the video, this video, United People's TV. Let's talk about it. And let's talk about transfers. As I said, this is what everybody wants to talk about. And it's why I'm going to do my video today on transfers. I'm going to be doing a video on Monday on tactics, but today's all about transfers, all right? And we can see here from the Telegraph that Manchester United are plotting a huge summer rebuild as Erik Ten Hag wins the fight for Steve McLaren's return. So they're actually saying that McLaren will be appointed as one of the 2 new assistants, but we've already had a conversation about that. So let's scroll down here to see what they're saying about transfers. And that's this. And this is actually, they're not the only people to be saying this. United are prioritizing the recruitment of 2 midfielders and a striker, although they are looking at wide forwards and centre-backs, and there is huge pressure on the club to deliver after squandering more than $1 billion. And these are the names that are getting thrown around here. Calvin Phillips, Aurelien Tchouameni, Christopher Nkunku, Yves Bissouma, Ruben Neves, and John McGinn. Now, Christopher Nkunku is definitely not... He's more like a false 9 than a midfielder. So he's not the sort of if you can technically put him down as a midfielder, but he's definitely not the midfielder that we need on paper. He's more towards a striker than he is a defensive midfielder. Calvin Phillips, Tchouameni, and Yves Bissouma. If you're choosing one of those 3, who are you choosing? Phillips, Bissouma, or Neves? Type it in the comments now. And obviously, they go on to mention Declan Rice. And I'm going to be speaking about this later. That United believe Declan Rice has the characteristics they're crying out for, but West Ham won 150 mil. 150 mil. Goodbye. Goodbye. You stay at West Ham. You've enjoyed your best season ever. They're not going to beat that. That'll be insane. No one's going to pay that much money for him. You're absolutely going to get outpriced of a move. Lots and lots of comments flying in here. Lots of you want Neves. Quite a few of you want Bissouma as well. Some mentioning Boubacar Kamara too. And I know you want Bissouma. You've been banging on about him for a while. Phillips, Tchouameni. I would say the main name being shouted in the comments is Neves. And you know what I think about Neves. You know what I've thought about Neves. It's for years and years and years. I think three summers in a row now, I've been banging the drum about the defensive midfielder. And the club's done absolutely sweet. Naffle. Finally. You know, I can say here, for the first time, I can say with utter confidence Manchester United are going to sign a defensive midfielder this year, ladies and gentlemen. We are genuinely going to sign a top-level defensive midfielder. It's like a miracle. It's like a miracle. We wanted it for years. The club wouldn't be in the situation it's in now. The team wouldn't be in the situation it's in if we had signed, a defensive midfielder. But we hadn't. But we're actually going to fucking sign one. And we've got Ten Hag as manager. I'm already excited for football next season, just on the back of those two things, let alone what else could come through. Ahmed just saying, can Ghana step up? Ghana can step up. Ghana's really progressed and shown his prowess on the outside of the box and inside the box with Nottingham Forest and sort of going forward. We need that powerhouse. We need that powerhouse in midfield. Whether that's Tchouaméni, whether that's Neves, whether that's Rice, whether that's Phillips. It's going to be one of a player like that, and I can't wait to see which one it is. If we go over to the Times now and we see what they're saying about the budget, they've gone a little bit lower than most places. They're saying that Erik Ten Hag is going to get 120 million to save Manchester United. And then in the first sentence, they kind of disagree with themselves. Blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Maybe not first sentence. He'll be given 120 million to spend on new signings, but the transfer budget will be increased if the club manage to sell any more players this summer. It's exactly what I'm saying. I think 120 million cash is a reasonable expectation of what Manchester United will give Erik Ten Hag, but there'll be more on top of that. So if it's a 120 investment, and then you're saving $1 million on wages per week with the likes of Pogba, Mata, Lingard, and Matic all going, and Cavani, Jesus, that's more than $1 million, I think. So add that into the kitty. Or maybe that'll pay for the wages of the 120 million players. I don't know. And then you've got the likes of all the players linked there. Eric Bailly, Phil Jones, Martial, and Pereira. None of those players, in my opinion, have long-term futures at Manchester United. If any of them do, it's Eric Bailly. He's the only one I consider that will potentially be here in 2 years' time. Phil Jones, Anthony Martial, and Andreas Pereira will not be. Between those four, how much do you think United could get? Hypothetically, let's say we sell them all. Bailly, Jones, Martial, and Pereira. How much do you think we're going to be getting for those four players? You type a number in the comment. Looking at that there, I think we did this the other day, didn't we? Surely between 50 and 70 million, something like that. Roughly. Martial, 30. Pereira, hopefully get 10. Bailly, should be able to get 15. What's that? 45. Phil Jones, packet of crisps. Between 50 and 70. So say that happens and we've got a 120 million budget and we get 60 mil. That means we've got 180. I'm definitely going to push that up to towards 200. And my video is going to be based around 200 million budget. That was the initial thing that we saw. There's going to be different prices and numbers all banded around because no one particularly knows. But I'm saying hypothetically, if we get a 200 million budget, and as I said, it's all about comparing to your rivals. In Guardiola's first year, he was given 189 million. In Louis van Gaal's first year, he was given 176 million. Ten Hag deserves at least parity with that, and in my opinion, a little bit more, given the context of the squad and given the context that 4 or 5 players are going to be leaving on a free transfer anyway. It's all about context. You can't possibly give him 50 million less than Van Gaal got in his first year. You can't be giving him 70 million less than Guardiola got in his first year if you want him to catch up with him. It's parity and it's equality. Therefore, it's got to be matched. It's got to be 175 million to 200 million. And that's reasonable. It's not me just going outrageous numbers. So down in the comments here, you think between 30 and 40, 50 million. Wow, you're feeling a bit. 30, 40 would be more than that. 50 million, says Bradley on Facebook. Less than 50 by 20. Don't know. Let's have a look. Lots and lots of you in the comments here. Packet Chris. Depends what flavor as well. Prawn cocktail. Salt and vinegar. Get in the bin. I don't like vinegar. Don't hate me. All right. Don't hate me. I like a little bit of balsamic, but malt vinegar. Oh, grim. Absolutely grim. It's going to be exciting and interesting to do this video on the transfers today. I've been wanting to do it for a while. As I said, I've held back. And there's so much content coming here on United People's TV. I'm not just saying that to get you to subscribe. When it comes to the likes of Tchouaméni, Darwin Núñez, Anthony, Pau Torres, I'm going to be doing full story looks into every one of those players, hopefully. I'm going to be looking into the tactics of each of those players. How do they fit United? I'm going to be speaking to journalists about those players. I'm going to try and get as much really insightful transfer content as possible. So make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to United People's TV if you are new. Before we do move on, though, ladies and gents, let's get this done now. There's so many of you joining in. Let me know, right? where are you watching from, and what town, what country and what town. I'll add 3 of you onto the Fable map because it is Friday. And I tell you what, Ten Hag's giving me that sweet feeling, that sweet Friday feeling, baby. I'm excited about what's coming up next season. Preseason, Himalayans in the comments saying preseason training will be crucial. Going to be absolutely crucial, mate. And it's going to be a bit disrupted. He's going to come in probably June, start of June. He'll come in. Preseason won't start until, I'm guessing, towards the end of June, start of July, maybe the 1st of July. We go on preseason tour on the 12th of July. We have our first game against Liverpool in Thailand. That's going to be his first game. Let's see what goes on. Stephen, I see you there, buddy. Antrim. I'm not sure Antrim's on here, actually. So, Antrim, you can go on a map. On you go, sir. I don't know when I'm going back over to Ireland, actually. At some point soon. You're on the map. Who else can we get? Let's get 2 more on here. So, we've got Northern Ireland on here. Oh, look at that. Forest Hills, Queens, New York. I think we've got New York on here. I'm not sure, though. So, I'm going to go, because you gave me such a detailed Forest Hills, Queens, New York. Boom. On the map. Welcome aboard, sir. Anybody, by the way, speaking of New York, if you haven't watched Russian Doll on Netflix, go and watch Russian Doll. It's great. How many pins now, Sam says, Josh? We're on 268. It's a lot of pins. A lot of pins. I think you might be lying, Ant. Although you might be balder than it looks on the camera. I'm not sure. Nothing wrong with being bald. Nothing wrong with being bald. Kalechi watching from Oslo. I've got you on their map already, my friend. Who else you got down here? Ghana in Accra, you're already on the map. Qatar, Doha, I think that's on the map. Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Cool. On you go, sir. Yosef, there you go. Welcome aboard. Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. Oh, not Adidas. No, not Adidas. There you go. Addis Ababa. On you go. Boom. Wicked. So we're on 269. Dinner for 2. More than 2, actually. 269. But look, thank you very much, everybody, for getting involved in the comments. I do try and add as many of you on as possible, and it always puts a smile on my face. See how many people all around the world tune into United People's TV and get involved. And I will spam this one more time. I'm going to spam this a few times. Sorry, ladies and gents. I'm really happy about it. Please go over there. Did it work that time? It keeps throwing in spelling mistakes. I need to fix this. How stupid is that? There's no spelling mistakes in when I'm doing it, but it's putting spelling mistakes in there. It's not my fault. All right. But please go over there and follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, and get ready for the first podcast that is going to be launching on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. As long as everything goes correctly, it'll be launched on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. I can't wait. Gungshi, my friend, thank you very much for Super Chat. What are you saying, sir? At this point, I'll take any decent CDM, but hopefully Ten Hag will take care to get the best possible fit for the team in all positions. I hope the first thing he does is decaptainize. Is that a thing? Decaptainize? It is now. Maguire, and buy a new centre-back to partner Varane. I would disagree with you there, Gunchi, and say I hope the first thing he does is buy that central defensive midfielder. That is United's numero uno to get right this summer. We have to get that right this summer. Take away the captaincy from Maguire. You know where I think about that. I'd say just take away the shirt from Maguire and just pop him on a plane. Send him back to Leicester for 8.2 million or whatever they want. He's got a lot to do. The job list of him of Ten Hag is absolutely insane. But my priority would definitely be a central defensive midfielder. That is without a shadow of a doubt. And lots of you have been talking about the rest of this season. So this will probably put a nice big smile on your face. This is a training picture from yesterday. On the left, you see Xherdan Shaqiri behind Marcus Rashford. In the middle, you can see Hannibal Mejbri behind Alvaro Fernandez. And on the right, you can see Alejandro Garnacho training behind Erik Bailly. 4 of our exciting youngsters. Xherdan Shaqiri, obviously, he's already made his senior debut. So has Hannibal Mejbri. We're yet to see Alvaro Fernandez, and we're yet to see Alejandro Garnacho. In my opinion, I think Alvaro Fernandez is the one that we should... I think he's probably the most ready Hannibal is probably the most ready. Alvaro Fernandez, as a left back, is a position that we massively need to improve hugely. I think Alvaro Fernandez is definitely one to watch out for in the preseason. That'll be my tip. Hannibal, he should definitely be getting minutes ahead of Pogba, who's played his last game for United. Goodbye. Mata shouldn't be playing for United anymore. I'd rather see the minutes going to Hannibal. Mata's leaving. Don't play the people who are leaving the club. That's something I do agree with people in the comments. If this season truly is done, and we've now made it done because we're shit, right? Just give these kids a chance. And you're saying Kobe Manu, he's with the under-18s at the moment. He's definitely one to watch, but he's one to watch probably in a year or two's time. But That's the big reason why everybody should be so excited about Erik Ten Hag. Erik Ten Hag is used to operating inside a club that doesn't really have a transfer budget that much. Too much. He's used to working inside a club that sells its best players every single year and then brings through academy players. He has got a long track record of not only bringing academy players through, but coaching them into being top level stars. And that's a big, big difference. Man United, Van Gaal gave so many debuts. We've spoken about this before. Tyler Blackett, Paddy McNair, Donald Love. Where are they? Like Sunderland. Don't even know. Cameron Borthwick Jackson. I don't know where any of them are. There's lots of United Academy players who will go on to join the Football League. But how many will go to the top level? That's a big difference. And Ten Hag has a lot of experience in that. So that's why I'm really excited. That's why these youngsters are going to be looking at going, you know what? It's a very exciting time to be a youngster at Manchester United. And the under-18s are in the FA Youth Cup final as well. That's coming up soon. It's going to be good. Gungshu, you're saying, imagine if Pogba did sign a new deal with United. I wonder if Ten Hag would want to use him in his system. Of course. Of course he would. Oh, look, Donald Love's at Salford City. Who knew? There you go. Pogba's a great football player. And Ten Hag would probably be able to get more out of him than someone else. But fuck the conversation, man. I'm done with it. Just vamos. Let's move on. I don't want United to waste any more time, any more money, or any more energy on Paul Pogba and what is going on there. I've got someone in the comments there asking for the link to the podcast. Let me type it. I'm going to press this button one more time. Don't give me a spelling mistake. It's giving me another spelling mistake. What do you know? It puts them in random places. It's a bit weird. Maybe I've got to restart it. I don't know. I'll get it sorted for next time because I'm getting embarrassed by the spelling mistakes. But look, Nick, you're saying no way. The dressing room would probably run riot with that. You might be right there. I don't know. But Pogba, done, man. See ya. Conversation's over. That was a good chat this morning. I enjoyed it. Guys, I'm not sure if you know, guys and girls, we've got Erik Ten Hag as our manager. Erik Ten Hag is manager of Manchester United. We're going to sign a defensive midfielder. We're going to sign a striker. They're the two guarantees for the window, in my opinion. The two guarantees for the summer transfer window. New central midfielder. New striker. Other than that, we could get a second. We could get a second central midfielder. We could get a centre-back. Darwin Núñez is obviously linked with us. We all know his qualities in front of goal, but there are some reservations about his overall game. We've got Donny van der Beek coming through. I know it's cliche. Donny van der Beek will quite literally be like a new signing. He will be. Remember that guy got into the top 20 in the Ballon d'Or under Erik Ten Hag. He's not a shit footballer. He isn't. Just because he turned into one at United doesn't mean that he is. It's whether or not Ten Hag can get the most out of him on top of that. But look, I'm excited about what's coming next. I've got some cracking artwork coming, by the way. You'll be excited about that. Let's see what goes on. Make sure you tune in later on today. Hopefully before lunchtime, I'm going to be getting that video out on transfers. You've got James down in the comments saying, what's your name on Spotify? It's United People's Podcast, James. So anybody, if you type it on an Apple podcast or Spotify, just type United People's Podcast. It should pop up. There's a little trailer on there, and it's going to be good. Everything's going to be good. United, let's see what goes on in the next few years. After the last 7 or 8 years, it's been a tumultuous time to be a United fan. Maybe it's the medicine we deserve after dominating the Premier League for 20-odd years. But let's see what comes next. I'm excited about what comes next, and I think I'm more hopeful now than I ever have been. And will Paul Mitchell come in? I think we will be getting a deputy director of football in the next couple of weeks. Fingers crossed that's Paul Mitchell. I still don't know whether he'd work underneath John Murtough, but we'll see. Maybe they can restructure. But you know where to come first if that happens. United People's TV. Make sure you tune in. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in today. Thank you all for your comments, for engaging. I enjoyed the Breaking Bad conversation. Who do we have? We had Erik Ten Hag as Heisenberg, Mitchell van der Gaag as Jesse Pinkman, Ralph Rangnick as Saul Goodman. They're the three I definitely agree with. Hit me up on Twitter if there's any more. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good day.